G'day gamers, VaderG here. Welcome back to the channel. Well, big news dropping in terms of Marvel Future Fight update, the November update. It's a big one. It's the Black Panther. I'm assuming part one update of the Black Panther. I'm assuming it's going to roll onto part two mid-month. So, summary. Some big things happening. Obviously, we've got a new character coming. So, M'Baku. We've got tier 4 for Namor. Tier 3 for Shuri, potential for Ironheart, so for Transcendence, and potential for Moon Girl. So that's in a summary. So that's kind of interesting in itself, just the character type stuff. There's a new legendary battle, but the real big news from a PvE and Alliance Battle Extreme Alliance Battle Legend perspective is the reforging of a CTP of Rage. Now, we've known this is going to be coming at some stage. We kind of predicted it might happen around Black Friday this year, but still hard to believe that it's actually here. In addition to the CTP of Rage reforging, there's CTP of Refinement reforging, which I'm not sure how much relevance that's going to have in the game. I haven't really looked into it that much. And a secondary comic card deck, which is real WoW territory, because really getting one set with 25% Pierce is enough. And really for PvP content, you still need 25% Pierce, and then you need max HP as well. So going to be interesting. So some real WoW players will really dominate with that new comic card deck, so having a second deck equipped. But what we're going to do is we're going to skip through some of this stuff and come back to it. I just want to jump straight into the CTP of Rage reforging, because it's big news, right? It's it doesn't matter how you look at it, this is really going to change the game. So you can now get a brilliant CTP of Rage, you can get a mighty CTP of Rage. We'll come back to the refinement in a second. So a mighty CTP of Rage, the effect is they're calling it Enraged, increases critical damage by 80% regardless of the max limit, so which is huge, and an additional amount equal to 40% of concentration. So if you have an artifact that has concentration effect on it, then you're going to get 40% of that concentration, that total concentration effect, on top of the 80% of critical damage for the mighty CTP of Rage, or increase basic attack and defense by 20%. But I'm definitely assuming the first option is going to be way better for all PvE content. That is massive. So that's like the Sharon Rogers effect, where she has the ability to pierce through that sort of critical damage cap of 200%, and really you can see the difference, on her tier 3 skill when that hits, how much damage that does. So really going to be bonkers. Now, if we go to the brilliant CTP of Rage here, the critical rate and dodge rate percentages go up. Activation rate goes up as well to 25% instead of 20%, which is a pretty big deal, actually, because CTPs of Rage are renowned for not proccing very well. And the increased basic damage goes from, I think it was, 0.9% per point, yeah, I think it was 0.9% per 1% of dodge rate and crit rate, something like that. So it's gone up to 1.1%, or up to 1.1%. Ignored boss damage decreased by 65%. I think the maximum before was 60%. But then if you look over the Enraged, increased critical damage by 130%, and an additional amount equal to 60% of concentration, which is crazy. Or the secondary option, increase all basic attacks and defense by 32%. So these are must-have items, right? If for anyone who's serious about Alliance Battle Legend, Alliance Battle Extreme, I'm assuming even a mighty CTP of Rage will eclipse a brilliant CTP of Judgment in most instances. It's a game changer. It doesn't matter how you look at it. Reforging a CTP of Rage is a game changer for all PvE modes. So yeah, I mean, anyhow, that it's huge. It's absolutely gigantic. So on top of that, let's quickly break down the CTP refinement, reforge effects. So Mighty CTP Refinement gets an effect called Vitality, recovers HP by 15%, which is significant. Every second, an additional amount equal to 35% of concentration, so significant again. So every second, it's got a significant HP recovery to it, so a constant heal, or increase basic attacks and defense by 20%, which is usually not that great. Or the Brilliant actually has max HP, higher level, recovery rate at a higher level. Activation when HP below 50% recovers 30% of HP. Barrier 10 times. I don't know what that means. Recovers 30% of HP. Barrier 10 times. Okay, so it creates some sort of shield. And then the additional effect of Vitality recovers HP 25% every second, an additional amount equal to 50% of concentration. Imagine, and I don't know what this is going to equate to in PvP terms, but imagine if the egg goes to the OP egg. Let's imagine it goes to the dominant CTP in PvP, which it could. I don't know how that's going to go. I'm not enough of a PvP expert to sort of say, oh yeah, this is going to be better than a Brilliant CTP of Authority. I don't know. Additional comic card deck is kind of interesting. It's probably something that's been bandied around for a long time between sort of the WoW player base, that we should have an additional card deck. I don't know about it. I think this is really only going to apply to the very, very top, very small percentage of whales, because realistically, to compete in PvP mode, you still need 25% peers anyway to really compete properly. So I don't really know. I don't know of too many people who have an additional 5 cards floating around with all max HP and all blue stats on them. I don't know anyone who's a PvE player who has that. Likewise, I'm not sure how many PvP players would have an additional 5 cards with all blue stats and with a shitload of attack on them. I don't know. There's going to be some, but I just don't know how many. So 1,000 crystals to unlock that feature, and then you can set it based on what content you want to actually play it in. All right, let's quickly break down the characters. Interesting to start off with, and sorry about all the scrolling, guys. M'Baku, interesting. So you can get him through the bio. So the bio sub to get 20 bios daily. Special growth support, premium hero chest, or when entering legendary battle Wrath of the Sea stage 3. Okay, so looks like we're going to be able to unlock him through the legendary battle, which was kind of cool. So if you've got a mega 6-star and then a mega tier 2 ticket, you know, he may be reasonably easy to unlock if you've got that stuff behind you. He has a pretty strong leadership here, 30% increase of all attack, but then he also has so you look at his tier 2 passive here, Wild Warrior, applies to all allies, increased basic damage dealt to super villain, can't even say it, faction by 45%. So he's got leadership and he's also got attack buff. So he's going to be super, what should I say? He's going to be super important, I think, for the combat superhero Alliance Battle Extreme and Alliance Battle Legend requirements. So I think he's going to be a must-have. In addition to that, I believe his artifact is quite powerful. We'll skim it down to his artifact, so we're just looking at everything in totality at one time. Yeah, so his artifact applies to all allies, ignores target dodge rate by 20%, which is significant, and increases all attacks by 15%. That's a pretty crazy artifact to apply to the whole team. So I don't know. They've made him a very desirable character from a PvE perspective. Namor. Let's have a quick look at Namor. So yeah, I'm not going to go through all his skills. This video would be way too long for that. So the weird thing is though, M'Baku, no awakened skill, no uniform. So will he get a uniform mid-month? I think that's likely. Will he get an awakened mid-month or a tier 3? I think that's probably likely as well. I think it would be unlikely that they give him the same treatment as what they give Green Goblin, as what they gave Black Cat, where they just leave him at tier 2 with no awakened skill and that sort of stuff, and no uniform. I think that would be an unusual move if they did that. Namor. So combat supervillain, remains combat class, which we kind of knew from the little video that they showed. So brand new uniform, uniform effects, increases cold damage by 30%. Okay, so that's pretty significant because he was doing fire damage with his Phoenix uniform, and now he's definitely going to be doing cold damage. His ultimate skill looks pretty OP. The amount of all allies buffs, the amount of enemies debuffs, the amount of self buffs is significant, including the accumulation, which is pretty massive. He's got super armor, which is nice, as his passive tier 2 passive crit damage increase and crit rate increase. So he's got everything going for him. He's got the accumulation on the tier 3 skill, which he had before, and then he's got a pretty massive self buff there on the 5th skill. So let's just quickly skim through to his artifact here and see what it's about. I'm assuming it's going to be pretty damn good as well. Sorry for the flipping through. Here we go. Artifact name, Fury of the Depths. Increased basic damage dealt to boss types by 25%. And an additional 4% of total instinct. So once again, really, really strong artifact from Namor. So yeah, they're making these units very desirable. I'm hoping that he can cap at level 80 tier 3 for Alliance Battle Extreme, but that hasn't been the trend lately. But if we're looking through, I mean, he's got a bit of everything going for him. He looks very, very strong on paper. Shuri, going to get her tier 3 skill. So uniform effects, she gets super armor, increase all basic defense by 40, increase skill damage by 35. Her own passive, she gets 15% chain damage, dodge rate, ignores dodge rate by 35%, which is really nice for World Boss. Applies to all allies, increased damage, basic damage dealt to supervillain faction by 55%, which I think is a little bit more than what she had before, and decreased damage dealt as well. Does she have accumulation on her skills? No. So she has a big self buff on the 4th skill there. It'll be interesting to see how she actually performs as a standalone character. But yeah, she's definitely got some buffs in terms of her support there. Speed superhero. Let's just have a quick look at her artifact as well. Well, here's her tier 3 skill. Oh, this is where the accumulation is on her tier 3 skill. So she bleeds, stun, silence, and then she's got penetration, invincibility, 12 seconds, and then she's got the accumulate 10% of pure damage when attacking, maximum 100%. So that's, that's where she's going to get her power from, is her tier 3, most likely cancelled into another skill. Let's just flick through to her artifact quickly, because that's what I'm interested in. Okay, applies to self, so it's not a team artifact. Ignores target dodge rate by 25%. An additional 0.5% of total instinct, increase all basic damage dealt by 20%, and an additional 0.5% of total instinct. It's a nice artifact, no doubt about that. So probably no massive surprise in that regard. All the artifacts look pretty good. So yeah, I mean, she's definitely of interest, just for her buffing skills, but now potentially could be a damage dealer as well, by the looks of the artifact and by the looks of the accumulation on the tier 3 skill. Probably not going to use this video to go into the Ironheart uniform. I'm just having a real quick look here as I haven't had a look. She's got accumulation. She's got a bunch of stuff going for her, as she should really, with her being a pay war character, and she's pretty shit at the moment, so she should have stuff going for her. And she obviously gets a transcend skill as well, as does Moon Girl, which will be relatively useless. In terms of legendary battle, it's kind of interesting rewards. So 1 star, you can see in this first picture, 1 star M'Baku available upon entering stage into the depths. I'm not sure if that's the normal stage or the extreme stage. I'm not even going to try and speculate on that because I don't know. Maybe it'll show us down here a little bit more. Here's the extreme package. The extreme pack looks like you get a CTP of destruction. Looks like you get a potential increase selected. You get Moon Girl's icon, big deal. Some crafting shit, maybe a mythic card, and you get Shuri's artifact, which is probably really good if you're a Shuri fan. So yeah, let's have a quick look and see if, okay, and you can, for an extra 2,500 crystals, you can take M'Baku straight to 6 star if you don't have a 6 star mega rank up ticket. So let's just have a look and see what the rewards are here. So wonder where you get, yeah, it doesn't really show where you get the 1-star in Baku, but I'm assuming it's probably just in the normal as well. But yeah, I mean, there's some nice, if you look at the extreme, there's some nice rewards. You get 500 crystals back, which is nice. The Shuri artifact, probably good. CTP of destruction. I don't know if that's, I don't know how much that's, if it's worth 2,500 crystals, you get 500 crystals back. You're basically paying 2,000 crystals for a CTP. Shuri's artifact, 4-star, comic card, and a bunch of other stuff, which, you know, may be useful for some players, probably not super useful for me. Been through the CTP, reforging, the comic card, additional stuff, that will take some time to play out just to see what effect that actually has in terms of the top 16 alliances. And we've kind of been through the majority of the artifacts. We didn't really cover these bottom two here in terms of Ironheart, probably because I'm not super interested in it. Well, I am, but it's secondary to the rest of the content for me. But her, you know, her thing looks pretty good. Her artifact looks pretty good for Ironheart. Increased basic damage dealt to enemies with 50% HP or higher, which is, you know, most bosses, including the Frost Beast and Surtur. So it's probably a pretty good one. 25% increase in basic damage dealt. And Moon Girl, yeah, it looks pretty good as well. Ignores target dodge rate by 25%, which is nice for World Boss. Increased basic damage dealt to supervillain faction by 20%. I mean, that's pretty big. So, yeah, some interesting stuff there in terms of the artifacts. Just wish they were easier to get. And then, obviously, we've got a future pass set up here, which I'm not going to go through because everyone can go through that stuff. New uniform collection, other improvements and changes. Yeah, okay. Probably, yeah, nothing massively interesting to mention. Riff improved. MVP status, big deal. A filter show only the heroes that can be acquired or upgraded when using character selects has been added. Yeah, whatever. Some items purchase limits can be purchased continuously with the purchase again button. Okay. The artifact auto dismantle feature has been improved. Okay, good, whatever. And some other stuff as well. Adjusted the look of Jane Foster. And game error fix is always interesting here to see what they've snuck in. Okay, so the fix is going to be applied to Hulk for his, you know, his damage increase on his tier 4. Skill effects of tier 4 striker skill Black Bolt have been increased. Okay, I guess that's something, I guess, but it's not really probably going to affect him hugely, I wouldn't say. And the rest of it is kind of blur. Massive update. Absolutely huge. Let me know what you think of the update, guys. It's gigantic. And you know what? If they had have put no other characters in, if they had have done nothing else except for a CTP of Rage Reforged, it still would have been a gigantic update. So Netmarble have been busy. Netmarble have been putting in some work. And, you know, whenever you see this sort of activity, see new legendary battles, you see, you know, new characters being introduced to the game, the second one basically in 2 updates. And, you know, obviously a lot of work being put into some of these characters to totally rework them, new uniforms. It's good signs. It's good signs for the game. Not sure how we're going to go with CTP Rage Reforged. Bit scary. Let me know what you think, guys.